Okay, let's try and wrap our heads around a puzzle that honestly seems to break the laws of business. How can a company like Shein sell a dress for $7, ship it all the way from China, and still make a profit? It feels completely impossible.
Right. I mean, to really get a sense of how wild this is, you have to look at U.S. import tariffs. So last year, Gap paid $700 million in tariffs. H&M paid $205 million. But Shein, a company shipping millions of items to the U.S., they paid zero. Absolutely nothing.
Exactly. Zero. That's not a typo. So the real question is, how on earth is that possible? It all comes down to this really specific and actually very old piece of trade law that's being used in a way no one ever expected. And that is the first huge piece of this puzzle. It's this obscure but unbelievably powerful loophole. It's the engine behind Shein's entire business model. It's called the de minimis exemption. And get this, it's been on the books since the 1930s. Its original purpose was super simple. Let American tourists bring back little souvenirs from their trips abroad without getting tangled up in customs paperwork. It was never, ever meant for industrial-scale commerce. But then, in 2016, something huge happened. The limit for this exemption was raised to $800. And here's the kicker. Any package valued under $800 can be shipped directly to a U.S. customer without facing any import duties. So Shein isn't shipping giant containers like Gap. They're shipping millions of individual packages that just slide right under that limit. And the use of this loophole has just gone vertical. I mean, look at these numbers. In 2014, about 140 million of these packages came into the U.S. Fast forward to last year, that number hit over 1 billion. This isn't just a trend, it's a total rewiring of how global trade works.
A billion. And Shein, along with their rival Temu, are the absolute masters of this system. Together, they're shipping around 600,000 packages to the United States every single day. And pretty much every one of them sails through customs completely duty-free. It's mind-boggling.
There's this analogy that just nails it. The law created an express lane for bicycles, and Shein came along and drove a fleet of 18-wheelers right through it. But believe it or not, this incredible shipping advantage is only half the story.
Right, because to really understand how they move so many different things so fast, you have to look at their manufacturing model. It's not just cheap labor, it's something they call real-time retail.
The speed is just, it's breathtaking. A new trend pops up on TikTok, and Shein can go from a design idea to a product you can buy on their site in as little as 3 to 7 days. For comparison, Zara, who basically invented fast fashion, takes over 3 weeks. Shein is playing a completely different game. And here's the secret to that speed. Instead of placing these massive bulk orders and just hoping a style sells, Shein produces tiny test batches. We're talking just 100 to 200 units of a new item. They toss it on the website, and if it's a hit, they order more. If it's a dud, they just kill it. It almost completely eliminates risk and waste. This test and learn model lets them do something no traditional retailer could even dream of. They add around 3,000 new, unique products to their site every single day. The sheer volume is just a core part of their whole strategy. This other analogy really captures it. Traditional retail is like an old offset printing press. You have to print thousands of copies of one book to turn a profit. Shein is like a modern digital printer. They can print just 100 copies of 3,000 different books every single day, just instantly responding to what people want. Okay, so if you're shipping 600,000 individual packages and creating thousands of new items every day, you need an absolutely colossal logistics operation to make it work. The scale is it's hard to even picture. So think about this. Between Shein and Temu, they are shipping about 9,000 tons of stuff every day. And they're not using slow boats. This is all by air freight. It's the only way to keep up with that speed. The volume is so huge, it's actually warping the entire global air cargo market. Wow. And to try and visualize what 9,000 tons even looks like, imagine 108 fully loaded Boeing 777 cargo planes. That's the fleet they'd need, not for a month or a week, that's for one day. And this comparison really puts it in perspective. We all think of Apple as this global logistics giant, right? Well, they move about 1,000 tons of product a day. Shein, by itself, ships 5,000 tons. That's 5 times more than Apple. It's an unprecedented logistics machine. So how is this even physically possible? Well, the answer is on the ground in a specific part of Guangzhou, China that's informally known as Shein Village.
Shein has built this incredibly dense and digitized ecosystem. They have over 3,000 supplier workshops packed into a tiny 5-kilometer radius. When a new design is ready, suppliers bid on the small 10-unit test order, kind of like Uber drivers picking up a fare. They get real-time sales data and, this is crucial, Shein pays them in 30 days, not the 90-day industry standard. It keeps the whole network incredibly fast and loyal.
Which brings us all the way back to where we started, that $800 loophole. For years, that was the secret ingredient that made everything else work. But that whole era is now coming to a pretty abrupt end.
Yeah, because recent U.S. policy changes are slamming that door shut. Starting in May 2025, that de minimis exemption is gone for shipments from China. And then by August, it's gone for every country. The free ride is officially over.
And the fallout is happening right now. Tariffs on these goods could suddenly jump as high as 145%. Both Shein and Temu have already said price hikes are coming. And in this massive strategy shift, Shein is now building warehouses in the US to import in bulk. They're being forced to become more like the exact companies they disrupted.
So, the era of the $7 dress shipped from China might actually be over. But the truly revolutionary part of what Shein built, the real-time data, the tiny test batches, that super responsive supplier network, that's not going anywhere. It has changed the rules of retail forever. And that leaves us with one last really interesting question. Now that the playbook is out there, who's going to be the next to master it?